Still in a bit of a Minkin mood. The plain fact is that education is itself a form of propaganda, a deliberate scheme to outfit the pupil not with the capacity to weigh ideas, but with a simple appetite for gulping ideas ready made. The aim is to make good citizens, which is to say, docile and uninquisitive citizens. Now, that's H.L. Mencken from the 20s and 30s, man. This is still timely to this day, and oh, how education has done its evil work. Education, of course, in air quotes. And oh, how propaganda does its evil work. Gulping ideas ready made, you better believe it. And that lays the grazers open to be prey for the ministry of truth. And much like the ministry of truth in Orwell's work, we can shift on a dime. Oceania has always been at war with East Asia. Right in the middle of the 5 minutes hate. Just last week, we were assured from the usual anonymous intelligence sources that it was Russia who had leaked the State Department memos dealing with Ukraine. And then just a week later, well, it turns out it was this baby-faced little kid. And those same anonymous intelligence experts are absolutely sure of it. Yeah, this kid was given a top secret clearance, begging the question if this child can be given top secret clearance and access to documents of that import to national security. Don't we have bigger problems to worry about? But we'll leave that question to the side for a minute. This kid apparently leaked memos about Ukraine, classified memos about Ukraine, and he's being excoriated for it, scapegoated for it. They're demanding his public crucifixion and, the usual things. Odd. I didn't see the same reaction when this guy, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, leaked classified documents about Ukraine several years ago. I wonder if that might have had anything to do with it leading to Trump's second impeachment. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. An equal coincidence that Vindman is now standing accused of making money on defense contracts in Ukraine. But I'm less concerned about the people that leaked the documents than the things that are in those documents. It's almost as if they were trying to create a distraction. What would they need to distract from? Well, this. We've spent $150 billion in taxpayer money in Ukraine. Not a single dollar of that has been accounted for. As we've lamented here before, that is twice Russia's entire military budget, and yet we're told that it was a stalemate. Now, several of those anonymous intelligence sources were assuring us that Ukraine was winning. The brave and righteous fighters of the Ukrainian people were taking down the Russian bear. They seem to have left out a very important detail here. And again, it's that sliding scale of release. You give the public what you think they can handle. First, it was just 15 Special Forces operatives on a security detail in Kiev. Then it turned into 18. Then it turned into 30. And the last public release was that it was up to 90 Special Forces operators on the ground in Ukraine. But of course, they're just advisors, like the advisors we had in, that place in Southeast Asia, 1960s. Somebody want to help me out? Yeah. The other things that were in those documents indicated that, well, the Russian bear might be doing quite a bit better than we had been led to believe. Now, some of us called this from the very beginning. Some of us have contacts that are a little bit closer. Some of us have different sources of information, and some of us knew exactly what was going on from the word go. But in spite of what they're releasing, it's even worse. All indications are that this coked up clown shoe that we've given $150 billion of our tax dollars to is losing anywhere from 20 to 60 men for every Russian soldier that dies on the battlefield. This is getting ugly. And in light of our special forces being on the ground, it's only a matter of time before an American kills a Russian or a Russian kills an American. And then we launch straight off into World War III, boys and girls. Unbelievable. Actually, too believable. Again, from Mencken, our whole practical government is grounded in mob psychology. Let me stress that again. Our whole practical government is grounded in mob psychology, and the Bubis Americanus will follow any command that promises to make him safer. Bubis Americanus. I wonder if that counts for Bubis Washingtonius. Yeah, just this week. Ah, yes. Dictator Inslee to the right got his precious assault weapons ban passed. And of course, the media, propaganda ministry itself did its evil work, assuring us that, well, 56% of Washington voters strongly supported the assault weapons ban. Only 38% were opposed and 6% weren't sure. They sort of neglected to mention the population figures west of the Cascades and east of the Cascades. When you do a county by county assessment, the only people that wanted this ban were the citizens of Insleegrad, talking about Seattle, Olympia, where all the California transplants and lunatic leftists are. But because they hold the numbers, they hold the power. That is what it is to live in a pure democracy, which is why you hear leftists always talking about threats to that democracy, when in fact, what our founders intended was a constitutional republic. I digress. This ban, of course, covers the usual suspects, all those scary black rifles that you see in movies and first-person shooter video games. The FUDs, of course, if you're familiar with the term, if you're a gun person, you are familiar with that term, really got behind this ban in large numbers, particularly the FUDs west of the Cascades that fancy themselves sportsmen and decided to appease the crocodile in the hopes that it would eat them last. They found out the hard way. There were a lot of things that were buried in the text of that bill. Now, you've heard me say it before, and we're going to go into detail later, that the trick is always with the wording. You can sell people on things by using scary terms like assault rifles. They're certainly not going to come after your sporting guns. All of these would be considered sporting guns by natural definition, but because they share features with those dreaded black assault weapons, many of these were banned as well. Sportsmen are going to be feeling the pinch come this hunting season, and they deserve every last bit of it. But they'll never come for the bird hunters and their shotguns. Well, if you'll take a good look, if you're a gun person, you already recognize that every one of these here, except for the over-under in the middle, is a semi-automatic shotgun. You will note that the front of the tubular magazine will accept a tubular magazine extension, making these, by definition, under the assault weapons ban here in Washington, illegal. Bet the FUDs didn't see that coming. But what more can you expect from a leftist-controlled state that also this same week passed a bill saying that runaway children being housed in state facilities could have their genitals mutilated and their tits cut off without parental consent? Oh, wait, they didn't say that. They said it was gender-affirming care, because gender-affirming care sounds so much more positive than cutting a kid's cock off, doesn't it? Again, Mencken, for every complex problem, there is an answer that is clear, simple, and wrong. Whether it's guns, whether it's foreign policy, whether it's gender reassignment, they always want to reduce these complex problems down to simplicities, down to platitudes, down to easy, common sense things that every man can process. But once one delves in, you find, as always, that the devil is in fact in the details. And what we are talking about is some very, very horrific subject matter. I'll refer you back to my favorite character in my favorite film. It is impossible for words to describe what is necessary to those who do not know what horror means. You will find that there are a great many of us that don't buy into the simplicities, that know what horror means. We know what horror we're facing, and we know exactly the kind of horror it's going to take to get us out. but I promise you we will not shy from the fight. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and certainly, and I cannot stress this enough, seeing as how I'm about to start with a new one, certainly not employers. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to stretch that jaw open and choke you with a big fat dose of swollen, turgid, thorny truth cock. I can't even get through it with a straight face anymore. Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time once again for the Sunday sermon. Oh, man. Gonna be a short one, man. We're gonna get through this thing real quick, but I got some very important bullet points that I gotta hit. I just couldn't let all this stuff sit around without addressing it before I left town. Right now, everybody in for the drum roll, please. Yes! Coming hard charging out of the starting gate as we always do. We are talking about Red Desert! Gut-stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota, which stood like a testament to everything that was great about this country until the fentanyl Floyd riots. By the way, I would like to congratulate George Floyd on entering his third year of sobriety. That's coming up soon. Let's make sure to celebrate. Remember, guys, it's not the breaths that we take, it's the moment that took his breath away. Groan all you want. You know it's funny and you know I'm fucking right. Let's do a quick roll call to see who is on board, boys and girls. Brother Ryan Jenkins, as always. Brother Bill Wade. Right on, man. Good to see you, Mr. Wade. Always appreciate your support. The original sinner sister herself, the divine Miss M.A. Brother Joel Allen Jackson. Thomas Hollybee, man. AWB doesn't apply to me. Doesn't apply to me either, fellow Washingtonian. I just ignore the shit. That's been my line in the sand for a long fucking time, but we're going to get off into that in a bit. By the way, Tom, I'm sorry that you cannot break free to make it down to the little journey down to Sonny's place next week. I think it is going to be a fantastic class, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, I will be through with this next gig in time to get up and do that class that y'all have going up here back in the Evergreen State. We will see how that progresses. We got Stacy Bond on board. We got Brother James Pearson, LEO and Spirit Instructor in Extraordinaire. Thank you for being here, brother. Give my love to the wife. Big hugs, all that good stuff. Man, I'm just glad. I'm glad you guys made it out. We're running a little bit early today. I have got to be getting on down the road here in a couple of hours. I have a 12-hour drive ahead of me. Fill you in on all the details of what we got going on. In fact, we can do that while we're fading the bumper music out, man, before we jump off into this thing. What's that? Clear your calendar in October. Be there for BBB. All right, brother. We can do that. That's plenty of heads up. Right on, man. Right on. Looking forward to all of these, man. Looking forward to all these evolutions, all of these learning experiences. Looking forward to the great big adventure that's about to get underway. You guys have seen this backdrop for the past, couple of months. I had a bit of a cushion. I had a lot of stuff going on, with the wife and her health situation, getting that rectified, which we are just waiting for final clearance, man. She's out of the woods on chemo. We are just waiting for the final, hey, thumbs up, the nightmare is over, and everything looks like it's going to be good. Bill, going to see you at Sonny's. Brother, that warms my black, cold, and evil heart, man. I am looking forward to that, brother. I'm looking forward to that. Just a handshake and a hug, man, for all your support and for being a stand-up guy, brother. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wade, for letting me know. By the way, I don't know if Bill dropped into one of the slots that just opened up. You guys are going to have to check with Sonny to verify on this. But as of this morning, a couple of slots had opened up. There may or may not be one or two still available. But the name of the class is Fear Inoculum. You guys know how I feel about Sonny. You know how I feel about his training methodology and everything about it. If you were in Texas, or even if you're not, you may still have an opportunity to get in on this class. We are going to be delving into some dark places in the human psyche. We are going to be dealing with the science of fear. We are going to be dealing with the science of violence and how that is affected by and how it affects fear. and our responses to it, it's going to be one hell of an evolution, and I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully, if there is a slot open, if you guys can fill that in. Bill, I don't know if you were registered before. I can't remember. Um, it doesn't seem like it would go. Like maybe you got into one of these slots. I can't remember. But if there is still a slot open, man, if you guys are watching this and you can do it, get out there, man. I'm going to be down at Fort Honey Badger this coming week. It's new from Real Tail Front. Company offers 89% in stock for all firearms and semi-automatics, being at 86% in stock. Target ammo is in overstock, and discounts are happening in 9mm. Guys, you see that. If you guys are in Texas, you can find Emmy on social media. Go to my personal page. We are friends there. Hit her up with the message. She can give you some details. What do we say here? Outlier ammo is expected to be in overstock by summer. Cool. Bill, yeah, okay. So you were in early. All right, cool. So apparently unless something's changed, there are still 2 slots open for the Fear Inoculum class down at Fort Honey Badger this coming week. I will be there. Boneside Bongasil will be there. Mr. Wade is going to be there. And I don't know what other misfits and Reverends, Rangers, and Prophets of Doom might be making an appearance. But if you can make it out, it would be stellar. I think it's going to be a hell of a growth experience. I know it's going to be a growth experience. And I would like for any of the people who are like-minded kindred spirits to get to participate in that growth. So yeah, that's it's a big thing, man. It's a big thing. Just keep in touch with the rest of my big adventure. You know what? Let me get the sponsor shout outs out of the way quick because I want to get those guys here at the top of the program. As always, Roman and his lovely wife Carrie and Roxy and Allie and a bevy of beautiful women over at opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Roman has always been the creative sort. We go all the way back to 1988. Phenomenal musician. He's off in this watercolor space now. He's doing some good work. You're getting to look at beautiful portraits of beautiful naked women and testosterone-driven commentary on Planet Bart. We call that a trifecta. So check him out over at opiumtales.com and follow him, Roman Riva, on I know for a fact he is on Instagram and he is back on Twitter as well. And one day when we have Roman on the program, I will be able to fill you in on why this whole thing of mentioning him in conjunction with social media platforms has been so goddamn hilarious to us on the slide. Also, big shout outs to Casey and Dusty Tellison, Pitmaster Dusty, and of course Casey, who is finishing up with law school right now. It's going to be one hell of an attorney. In fact, I am saving money out of my first couple of paychecks with this. I'll tell you in a minute. Saving money out of our first couple of paychecks. To go ahead and put him on retainer. But he's going to be graduating from high school. Hopefully, I think all of you guys by now have gotten a copy of Freaks of a Feather. It is a memoir that started out as a suicide note. Brother Casey is a combat vet. He's a machine gunner for the United States Marine Corps. Hell of an individual. And he has put together a memoir, Freaks of a Feather, of his time in the sandbox it's gut-wrenching, man. It's excellent writing. And it will take you on a walk in an inner landscape that is going to take you to places that are going to make you uncomfortable. But it's a phenomenal book. He's gotten hell of accolades for it. He got to have dinner with Mad Dog Mattis, who was also a denizen of the Pacific Northwest and also, as you know, the Marine. But he's gotten lots of accolades. So congratulations to Casey. As far as Dusty, the pitmaster over at Nordic Smoke Barbecue, it was fantastic to see you. I literally just finished the last of that smoked mac this week. Literally just finished. It took me a week to get through the ribs and another several days to get through the chicken and that big tub of smoked mac, man. I was like pacing myself on it. Literally just finished it this week. Fantastic stuff, guys. You know, if you've been around, you know I sing their praises. They're fantastic people. They put out a fantastic product, and they've got some things in the works too that are going to make it possible for some of you guys outside of the Northwest to enjoy some of that product. I'll keep you filled on that as it progresses. But in the meantime, between time, go check them out on social media. Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the inland Northwest. Yeah, but what about go fuck yourself? All right. I said what I fucking said. The only legit barbecue in the inland Northwest. All right, cool. Before we jump off into the rabbit hole, actually, no, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and do the rabbit hole, because the rabbit hole this week is going to be kind of a fixer from last week. Last week we went into Ravel's Bolero, and you guys were over here in the comments saying that as I was playing it, that it was creating some audio problems and stuff, and I was trying to correct that on the fly. And I mentioned the dementia factor and had planned to launch into kind of a sub rabbit hole right off of that, but because I was trying to correct whatever audio difficulties we may have had, I kind of spaced on that. So I need to fix it. Here's what I'm going to do first. We're gonna play a little bit of Bolero, but I'm not going to try to talk over it, because that's what created the problems last week. But you guys will no doubt be familiar with Ravel's Bolero. Um, it's somewhat iconic. People either love it or hate it. You guys know you've heard that piece of music. It is iconic. It has been on a number of high profile film soundtracks and things like that. Like, as I was saying, people either love it or they hate it. Um, Repetitive doesn't even begin, but that's part of the structure of it. As I started to go into last week, um, Ravel at the time was suffering. Uh, he was suffering from a form of dementia. Um, primary primary progress is it progressive primary or primary progressive aphasia? Primary progressive aphasia, I want to say. PPA is the acronym, and he was falling apart. Uh, a lot of people were not aware of that. A lot of people were not aware of his brain being in the process of demise when he composed that piece, and it really did not come to light um, until there's a Canadian painter by the name of Anne Adams, and she painted her signature piece, which is called Unraveling Bolero. And it was through this painting of the piece and how the piece affects one visually, right? Because Anne Adams, at the time that she wrote it, again, unbeknownst to anyone at the time that she painted that signature piece, she was going through the same degenerative form of progressive aphasia that Ravel was, unbeknownst to everyone else, going through at the time he composed the piece. And because of the structure of the painting and because of Anne Adams' profile, people were able to decipher that connection, and people were able to decipher, psychologists were able to decipher how that primary progressive aphasia affects the human mind and the human consciousness as it progresses. And it's a really, really fascinating thing. And Ryan, we lucked out. You actually, Ryan, you may have known, because you're always a little ahead of the curve on this stuff. I was unaware, but there is actually a documentary for those of you guys that are documentary fans and you want to go down this rabbit hole a little bit. There is actually a documentary. I'm gonna have to find it. One of my punch points up here. Um, Here's one of the observations that were made in the spirit of Miller, who was a psychologist, simplified the science into one sentence. The disease apparently altered circuits in their brains, changing the connections between the front and the back parts and resulting in a torrent of creativity. So they were able not just to have a deeper analysis of the artistic piece that Adams did or the musical piece, that Ravel did, but of the actual disorder and how it not only fed their creativity, um, but was also working in a degenerative function at the same time. It's some really, really fascinating shit. And we're going to see, I'm still trying to find the name of that fucking documentary. I've got it on one of my tabs up here. I'm going to have to pull it down. It may actually, Unraveled. Found it. Jake Broder is the director, and the name, it's spelled, it's a play on Ravel, but it's unraveled, um, and it is out and in circulation. You can find it online, streaming on several different platforms. So if some of you folks out there ain't much of readers, and you just want to check out a good documentary on the subject, that is one worth checking out. So you heard silence. Okay, well, I'm sorry that you heard silence. Well, at least we didn't have the overlap that we had last week. But you can look up the piece, Ravel's Bolero. Um, and that again, that was the rabbit hole for last week. But the Ann Adams connection, because I was trying to work through the audio difficulties, I meant to go into that right after. You'll hear me last week. I was like, he was in the process of dementia, and I meant to launch off into the Ann Adams connection at that point, but because I was trying to correct the audio feed, I spaced and completely lost it. But yes, that documentary is out there. You can check it out. And I'm going to suggest that beyond the documentary, you check out any of the scholarly works that have been done on it. There is a mountain of information on the internet. So that is going to be your revised and amended Ryan's rabbit hole from last week. But again, the name of the documentary is Unraveled, and it is the connection between you guys. Maurice Ravel went over that last week. Bolero is the name of the track, and Unraveling Bolero is the name of the Ann Adams, Anne Adams, artistic piece that connects with the flow and structure of that song. It's a fascinating deep dive, because we know so little about the human brain and the way that it functions. You guys know that I am a big advocate for psychedelic drugs, for consciousness expansion, and for deeper analysis of the nature of the brain and how it operates, how the areas of the brain communicate with each other. The whole science of that has been bastardized because, again, as we said in the opening, people want to look for the simple solutions. And the simple solutions are generally fucking wrong. That's the dichotomy between Mencken's quote and Occam's razor. But rather than try to actually analyze the brain and the way that it works, psychology and psychiatry in particular is one of the most brutal things that has ever been unleashed. And we're going to go into a little bit of that with the last line item, the last bullet point that we're going to cover today. Shock treatment, lobotomies, virtual drownings, the horrible things that we have done in the name of psychiatry. Now, again, I'm not going to get off on an exalted virtue signal here and act as if what we are doing now is correct, because now they walk the streets. We no longer lock them up anymore. Ever since Casey's work, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that film affected the public consciousness in the 60s and 70s, we've turned people loose. And that's not the solution either, because all that does is force normal, functional humans to have to deal with these fucking animals. And some of these guys are sick fucking animals and need to be locked away. That doesn't mean that they need to be tortured. They definitely need to be kept away from the functional kids. But anyway, I say all that to say this. We are still so early on in understanding how the brain works. And this dive with Ann Adams and that connection to that piece the way that it helped truly motivated psychologists explore that particular part of dementia and how that particular type of aphasia affects how one part of the brain communicates with the other, advanced psychology exponentially. So sometimes the greatest discoveries are made by accident. You're going to come to a lot of your own conclusions on this. I mean, the insights that you take from it when you go on that deep dive, you're going to have your own observations about the nature of psychology and psychiatry, about the nature of the way the brain works, about any of these things. You're going to have your own observations, and I want you to. That is the purpose of the rabbit hole, to take you out of your comfort zone and just do a little poke into your bread oven and kind of expand your horizons a little bit. So hopefully we accomplish that. Again, Ravel's Bolero, Ann Adams, her piece Unraveling Bolero, and of course the documentary Unraveled. Look into it, do the dive. It's some fascinating shit, and coming highly recommended from Brother Ryan and from myself. What do you got? Joel. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, Joel. I'm really, really glad to hear that. You may have a different choice of cigarette brands than myself, but dude, those are some good looking mushrooms, man. So that's really great. And in fact, I need to get caught up. I need to get caught up on my microdosing because I have put that to the side for a while. That served me exceedingly well. So, in any case, Joel, happy that the crop is turning out well, and we're going to go ahead and jump off into the bullet points. And how odd and ironic that the first bullet point is actually dealing with bullets. You have heard me say time and time again that all gun control, the common sense gun control measures, it's all incrementalism. I would respect people more if they said, we want all your guns. Because two things. Number one, they're at least being honest. And number two, that honesty lends itself to public debate. Because all of these people who support these common sense gun laws, there are a scant few that support total confiscation, but they are very, very few. And if you put it out there, look, the end goal is we want to take all the guns, immediately there would be a backlash. They know that. That is why they have to do it incrementally. It is always incremental. There is not one shred of honesty to anything that they say. You have heard me lament before with regard to the way that they play word games. Assault weapons. What sportsman, what normal person defending his home needs another one, that kind of firepower to defend, and if you think you're going to fight the United States government, you're just delusional, and all the other ridiculous arguments that are made. But getting back to assault weapons, defining military style sporting weapons as assault weapons is something that scare people. And once you scare people and they accept, what did we go over in the opener? What did we go over in the opener? You're not looking for people that are going to weigh ideas. They are going to gulp ideas that are ready-made. What could be more ready-made than common sense measures to take weapons of war and keep the children safe? It's a ready-made idea, right? And you assure the FUDs being sportsmen, they're tentative gun people, but all they really do is hunt. And I have no problem with that. If that is your involvement in the firearms world, then more power to you, and I wish you the best, and vaya con Dios and all that stuff. But the Second Amendment had fuck all to do with hunting, my friend. They play the game with the assault weapons. They say we're just coming for those scary military weapons of war to keep the children safe. All right, fine. And then further down the line, the sportsmen find out that that high-powered bolt-action rifle with the optics that you had on it. See, that's not a sporting rifle with optics anymore. That's a sniper rifle. Don't you understand? And what sportsman needs? There's that needs words again. Needs the kind of accuracy to put put a dime-sized hole in a target at 800 yards. You don't need that kind of accuracy to hunt deer. It's just common sense measure to take these sniper rifles, the weapons of choice for assassins, away. Because how else are we gonna, go ahead, finish this? How else are we gonna keep the people safe, right? What was his quote about Bubis Americanus, right? They will follow any command that promises to keep him safer. The assault weapons ban is going to save you from those weapons of war. But now we've got to ban sniper rifles. There'll be a couple of high-profile attacks where somebody shoots someone with a bolt-action Remington 700, a hunting rifle, and it'll be like the epidemic of sniper rifle attacks, and then we take those. What about shotguns? They'll never come to shotguns. Shotgun's a sporting weapon if ever there was one. No. A shotgun, again, a double barrel, because if you're a sportsman, right? If you're a sportsman, you shouldn't need more than 2 shots at a time to take down ducks or geese. You don't want to be cruel to the animals. And besides, after a few high-profile shotgun attacks, these are, what are they? Riot shotguns. Oh, do you have an extender tube that'll hold more than 5 rounds? Well, you can't hunt. In most states, you can't hunt with more than 3. So why do you need that weapon? It's a riot shotgun. And the only way to keep the children safe, is to take these dangerous riot shotguns, the weapon of choice for bank robbers and domestic violence and what the fuck ever. Handguns are easy. I almost wonder why they're waiting so long, because the overwhelming majority of gun-related deaths are committed with handguns. The overwhelming majority of crimes committed with firearms are committed with handguns, pistols and revolvers. Overwhelming majority. More people, guns are for killing people, and I don't apologize for it. Right, exactly, Tom. That is the fucking point. Fear is a better weapon than any. They get to use it on you. Yes. Yep. You mean like the sniper attack by a trunk in Washington? Well, yeah, Ryan. Actually, I do mean that. The only caveat with that is they managed to sweep that under the assault weapons ban, because the weapon in question, if memory serves, the weapon in question was a semi-automatic. So they can still fold that into assault weapons. But yes, short answer, Ryan, yes. You'll get a couple of high-profile attacks like that are committed with bolt-action rifles. Whether or not they could have attained, a military-style rifle as easily. You'll get a couple of high-profile attacks with that kind of rifle, and yes, they'll be sniper rifles. Exactly. That's how they play the games with the words. Handguns have a stronger self-defense image for women. Yes, that's a possibility. But also because, really, if they want to make that case, Tom, and you're right, the 590 does have a bayonet lug, which, of course, puts those scary modifications on the weapons, which makes them infinitely deadlier. Dude, if you're having to fix bayonets and charge in this day and age, you've already fucked up somewhere. I digress. The reason they're saving handguns to last, yes, Tom, the fact that they have a stronger self-defense image is part of the factor, but in my observation, it's because that's going to be the easy one, right? You have to make a spurious and specious case to ban assault weapons. Why? Because more people are killed with bare hands every year. Every year. More people are killed with bare hands and hammers than are killed with all rifles combined, let alone the scary black ones. Every year, year over year over year. So you have to be able to build a case based on bullshit to ban assault weapons. Because if you look at the practical elements of it, there's no way to make the case. I think one of the reasons they're waiting, and it's my supposition, I could be wrong, because handguns are going to be easy. When they decide to ban the handguns, right? They've got 9 miles of statistics to back up why they need to ban handguns. 90% of criminal activity involving guns involves a handgun, right? That's an easy case to make to the public. So they don't have to reach as deep. They don't have to call for us to roll out the mats and do the intellectual gymnastics. Anyway, I'm getting a little off task here. The FUDs thought they were going to get away. I even made the observation. I've got the text of the bill in front of me right now. It's as a bullet point. Again, they're playing games. They're playing games with definitions. This is from the text of the bill. An assailant with, and this is page starting at the bottom of page 2. An assailant with an assault weapon can hurt and kill twice the number of people than an assailant with a handgun or non-assault rifle. This is because the additional features of an assault weapon are not merely cosmetic. Rather, these are features that allow shooters to fire large numbers of rounds quickly. Guys, I hate to break it to you, that's any semi-automatic with a detachable magazine. So I will at least give the Washington legislature points for consistency, because they banned sporting rifles with detachable magazines. But here's the kicker. And this is from page 2 of the bill. An analysis of mass shootings that result in 4 or more deaths found that 85% of those fatalities were caused by an assault weapon. How did they get that stat? Because on its face, it's absolute bullshit. By any previous definition of assault weapon, that's absolute bullshit. But this bill redefines assault weapon. Any semi-automatic that has a capacity for a detachable magazine holding 10 or more rounds. Remember how we got back to most of that crime and most of the murders are committed with handguns? Right. Now they have redefined a number of those handguns, Glocks, Berettas, most of the Smiths, most of the Sig Sauers. They're all assault weapons now by this new definition. That's how they were able to carry over such a bullshit statistic and state it with a straight face. They proceed to have a list of specifically banned weapons. There are rough estimate, I'm going to say 30. And of course, the usual suspects are there. The AK, the 47, the 74, the AR-15, the AR-180, the Barrett, Beretta AR-70, Bushmaster Carbon 15, blah, blah, blah. They could have saved themselves a lot of trouble by just saying and variants. The Dragunov. Tom, I know you're laughing. Sonny, if you're watching, I know you're laughing. The Dragunov. Yeah. Yeah. The sexiest DMR on the planet, by the way. But the Dragunov made the list, even though it fires from a detachable box magazine that holds how many rounds? 10 rounds. 10 rounds. And the fact that it's longer than an elephant dick and not at all concealable. But yeah, it's defined as an assault weapon. Here's the kicker, and there was a meme that circulated forever about the difference between an AR-15 and a Ruger Mini 14, that both are .223, both are semi-automatic, both accept detachable box magazines. The Ruger looks like a sporting rifle. The AR-15 looks like a military-style rifle. They even banned the M1A. That rifle isn't even banned in California. Yes, that is on the list. They banned the M1A. And even though they did not specify, right? Even though they did not specify the Ruger Mini 14 and the Ruger Mini 30, right? They covered all of their bases. The Ruger Mini 14, the Ruger Mini 30, and indeed, again, if you're a gun person, you know this. If you're a leftist, you don't care. Because you want them all. But the Ruger 1022. The Ruger 1022. What is a Ruger 1022, Bart? It's a Ruger rifle that fires a 22 caliber round, 22 long rifle, and holds 10 rounds. And it's stock magazine. Can you get 30 round magazines for it? Sure. At that point, it'll be a 30 round squirrel gun. It's an assault weapon under the Washington state law. That's how it works. I love shooting Hal's dragon off. Dude, you never got a chance to shoot mine, man. I remember Professor Howell had a dragon. He had the drag before drags were cool. He picked that fucker up for $700, dude. Do you know what they do? They go for like $8,000 on Gunbroker now. By the way, $8,000. Um, but yeah, Professor Howell got one when they were still floating around the $700 mark. Nobody wanted one because it's hard to find ammo for the 54R. That drag is, God, what an awesome fucking gun. Anyway, getting back to it, the Ruger 1022 is considered an assault rifle. Yeah, the Ruger 1022. Under the previous semi-auto ban here in Washington State, AR-15 pistols were considered pistols and did not fall under the higher scrutiny, but the Ruger 1022 did. You know why you should never allow me to make rules about legislation involving finances? Because I know fuck all about stock markets. Do you want to know why you shouldn't allow me to dictate regulations about feminine hygiene products? Because even though I've had indirect experience being married several times, and even though I raised a daughter, I'm not a woman. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And yet, these brainless buffoons, who most of whom have never handled a gun. I don't mean shot one. I mean they've never touched one. And their entire misguided, wasted little fucking lives are handing this down. Now, what can we take from it? Well, we can take a lot of things from it. I'm going to get rid of the text here because I don't need. Again, it's just the usual thing. This is what constitutes it. If it is a semi-automatic, even in the federal AWB from 94 to 2004, there were a specific number of things, which is how most of us didn't. For most of us, there was no ban. We could still buy an AK. It just had that stupid fucking thumb hole stock on it and no bayonet lug, right? That's how the first one went. They covered all their bases on this one. They left out nothing. And not only did they leave out nothing, but they incorporated some things that are absolutely terrifying for any fucking gun owner, including the FUDs. I have no sympathy. I break no bread with FUDs. I don't, because FUDs are not gun people. FUDs are gun people of convenience. And again, they are the people that feed the crocodile in the hopes that the crocodile will eat them last. Didn't happen this time. KHQ News here in Spokane. And again, it's the way that they frame it. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. So they cite a Rand Corporation. I'm gonna read. It's like 2 sentences. I'm just gonna read it. Still, there is some quality research on gun violence. One frequently cited study is the Rand Corporation Gun Policy in America review, which suggests many proposed gun control measures are likely effective. Well, there it is. There it is. There's the scientific evidence, right? Okay. 2 sentences after that. That Rand study specifically found bans on the sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines may decrease mass shootings. But wait. But the study also found there's very limited relevant evidence for that conclusion. How many of the gun grabbers read the second part of that? None. I'll answer that for you. None. There, again, it comes down to idiocy. Washington first spouse Trudy Inslee, and Trudy, from my heart, hon, I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you. I do. I understand that your husband is gay and diddles children. And that's got to be something to live with. To be stuck with a nutless, spineless leftist like this and not having been properly dicked down for at least since the Obama administration, Trudy, I feel bad for you. I do. But you really need to sit down and shut the fuck up. She testified at public hearing in life. If only one life can be saved by doing this. There we go. If only one life can be saved by doing this. ban showers, ban cars, ban plastic bags, ban straight razors, ban box cutters, ban getting out of bed in the fucking way. If only one life can be saved with this. You will not know whose lives you're saving. You will not know their names, their faces. If this does not pass, you will know the names and faces of those who have been killed. Unbelievable. These people are fucking delusional. The ban was originally requested by Trudeau's husband, Governor Jay Inslee. Knowles argued that the ban would be ineffective. Also appears the legislature is intentionally making bad policy. And here's where it comes down. They are deliberately defunding police departments. Look how that's turned out for Seattle. Take a look at how this turned out for Seattle and Portland. They're across the border. They're not affected by our policy, but it's the same group of people. These are people who are defunding and hamstringing the few. They're defunding the police. They're hamstringing the few police that remain. They are appointing DAs that are turning violent felons back on the street on PR bonds, and now telling people that they're going to take away their means of protecting themselves. At some point, it's no longer incompetence. At some point, it becomes malice. And you have to take a look at that. But here's the kicker. The FUDs got their comeuppance this time around. Because, again, they were going to take those weapons of war away. They're not going to take away my sporting rifle. Well, Sparky, guess what? Any shotgun that is semi-automatic, that can accept a magazine extender tube. They didn't extend it to pump action shotguns, but they will. Because again, this is incrementalism. Any semi-automatic shotgun with a tubular magazine, again, I'm not going to try to explain it to the gun grabbers. They're not going to hear it anyway. But for you people who are middle of the road or fucking gun people, you know what I'm talking about. Shotgun, semi-automatic, tubular magazine. If that shotgun has the capacity to accept a tube extension that will allow you to throw a couple more shells in it, falls under assault weapon. What? Yeah, falls under assault weapon. If it is a bolt action rifle, you ready for this? If it is a bolt action rifle and accepts a magazine that holds over 10 rounds, doesn't fall under assault weapons, but the magazine ban is going to make sure that on a traffic stop anywhere in the Seattle or Olympia or Tacoma area, you're going to get your rifle confiscated. You can go to trial to get it back. Good luck with that in the state of Washington. This is a very recent thing, people. They've always been left-leaning here, but I'm going to tell you something. Even back in 2016. In 2016, Nurse Charlie and I went to see a concert in Seattle. Peter Gabriel and Sting. Yeah. The venue provided gun lockers. I was able to walk because I was not comfortable walking through downtown Seattle, even then, without a piece. I was able to go to the venue, present my permit. They walked me through the venue to the security shack and provided me a locker for my gun. When the show was over, I could go to that locker, retrieve my handgun, strap it back on my hip, and walk out of the venue with the handgun to walk back to the hotel. That same handgun now, illegal under Washington law. It is incrementalism, people. Things are going to continue to get further and further out of hand. We can see the results in real time. What do you do about it? Well, not much to be done, is there? They would love nothing more than an armed insurrection because that would give them grounds for the total crackdown. So we find ourselves in a very unusual position. Here's what I have hope for. Yeah, Tom, great minds. I grew up skeet shooting with a Remington 1100. Actually, that's the only Remington shotgun that I own is an 1187. All of my other shotguns are Mossbergs. There is already a solution for this, but people aren't ready for that conversation. Not only are they not ready for that conversation, Tom, they're not ready for the actions that it would entail. And as a student of violence, I hold that on the whole, that's actually a good thing. Not that they're not ready for the conversation, but that people are hesitant for the action. If they were that gung ho about it, I would suggest to you one of two things is a reality. Either A, you're dealing with people who have never seen violence up close, or B, you're dealing with a situation where they have seen it, they know what's at stake, and they're ready to go anyway. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're not as far away as we were not so very long ago. And I'll leave it at that. This law will ultimately be struck down by the courts. Okay. That is just a fact. It will not be struck down by the courts in the state of Washington. In the lower federal circuits, it may survive a couple of tests. If it gets to the Supreme Court, and it will, it'll be struck down. That is the one legacy that orange motherfucker left us, is his benefits on the judiciary. All the judges that he appointed. And bet your ass, see, Trump was very sharp in that way. He knew, I may be gone in 4 years, but what I can do is going to dictate how culture goes. What do we know from Breitbart? Politics is downstream from culture. What I do to the courts is going to dictate how culture goes for the next 20 years. It was a brilliant fucking move. The Democrats have learned from it, and Biden is doing his best to tip the fucking scales. Ultimately, this law will be struck down by the courts. And in the meantime, where I live, depending on the department, Spokane County Sheriff's Department is not going to enforce this law. I promise you. I promise you. On my word, Spokane County Sheriff's Department is not going to enforce this law. Spokane Police Department probably will. Spokane Valley Police Department is a coin toss. Linwood, Washington City Council already passed a resolution saying that they would not enforce it. That's the information that I just got right before I went to air. The thing that we can take from this is that it is having the exact polarizing effect that it is supposed to. It is testing our will. It is testing our resolve. It is testing our commitment to solutions to this problem. It is testing our line in the sand. I have said, and I've never wavered from this, and I never will. Right. That's a subject for a whole other rant, Tom. I will say this because I've always stated it and I've never wavered from it. Confiscation is my line in the sand. A lot of people talk about, oh, I lost all my guns in a boating accident and they buried them. I buried my guns in the backyard. Let me tell you something, man. If the time has come to bury them, the time has come to use them. That is my position, and I stand with that. I will not submit to any confiscation measures. Period. Will not. You come to my home to take my firearms. That is how I leave the planet. And I will not be leaving alone. I mean, I might. Actually, they get the drop on me. I'm just staggering out of bed. But I think you understand what I'm saying. In the meantime, there are ways to not have to be defenseless while not drawing the attention of people who are unscrupulous fuckbags who are looking to crack down on people. Because look, if you own a military style rifle at this point, you are one of two things. You are either their political enemy, right? And they will know from the MAGA stickers on your truck to the, to your speaking in clear English and in your resolve to not be walked over. You are their political enemy, or you are an Antifa maggot or a convicted violent felon. And they'll be able to discern that too. No matter what you do, you won't face any fucking charges. It could not be any more obvious where they are going with this. And again, we took a look at the survey. Took a look at that in the opener. What did the numbers say? What did the numbers say? Here we go. 56% support, 38% oppose. 56% support, 38% oppose. That 38% is east of the Cascades. It is a much larger landmass. They have the numbers. It's the same reason why leftists want to eliminate the Electoral College. We are the unwashed. We are the smelly Walmart shoppers. We are the ones that don't matter. They will stop at nothing. I want to be abundantly clear on that. That doesn't mean you got to, run around gung-ho all the time, like picking fights with everybody with a fucking Biden sticker. Right now is the time for laughter and ridicule, but it's also the time for pointed observation, because they have just given us, particularly here in Washington State, a picture of exactly how far they are willing to go and exactly what they are willing to do. Hopefully the FUDs learned their lesson. I doubt it, but it might have happened. That's what's going on the domestic front. I got to address what's going on the foreign front as well. Again, just this, it's going to be a short sermon because I need to get on down the road here. But we all saw what happened with regard to the leaks. The leaks they have known about for several weeks, and at first they were ignored, and then they couldn't be explained, and then they came up with the explanation, well, Russia did it. What did we talk about last week? You remember the Restrict Act? That broad sweeping thing that gave people the power to control, that gave the Secretary of Commerce the power to control things on the internet in an expedient manner, basically shut down whatever platform they wanted by executive fiat. No elected official, just an appointed bureaucrat, would be able to shut down Twitter or Facebook or Twitch or whatever platform if it was in the national security of the United States to prevent leaks. I'm happy to report that Restrict bill died on arrival in the Senate. Thank you very much. Bravo. And in the Senate, no less, which is controlled by what? Democrats. They couldn't even get that past the Democrats. The Restrict Act died. And what happened immediately afterwards? Well, the narrative shifted. Suddenly, last week we were assured anonymous intelligence sources say that Russia leaked these documents. How they were able to obtain them, we have no idea. They delve deep and they're double agents, but they released these documents and you can't trust it because whatever. What do we get this week? That a 21-year-old kid, a 21-year-old member of the Air National Guard, for fuck's sake, even though technically it was an intelligence wing, had access to those memos, and that 21-year-old kid leaked them. Russia did it. A 21-year-old kid did it. And what do they say about the 21-year-old kid? Take a look at the fan page, man. I've been all over it. What is he? You already know. What's his politics? What's his politics? Ooh, right-wing extremist. Is he a gun guy? Oh, bet your ass he's a gun enthusiast. And we have several accounts that say that he's what? Come on, it's the R word. You know this one. Yeah, a racist, gun enthusiast, right-wing extremist. Working within an intelligence wing of the Air National Guard, MAGA has infiltrated everyone. Wait a minute, last week Russia had infiltrated everyone. Well, that's just more evidence that MAGA and Russia, they're like... The idiocy of this and the fact that they persist in it. But what's scarier to me are the number of people who are willing to buy it, unquestionably. Why? Because the Ukraine thing even got the Republicans on board. Crenshaw, I'm looking at you, motherfucker. But a lot of Republicans. Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, all of them. Yeah, weird. 14. Oh, no. Oh, no. Tom, you really got to keep up, son. Really got to keep up. That was the first release. 14. That was the first thing that they said. And then they tried to turn it and say, well, there are special operations, but most of them are from the UK. And then the UK said, No, we don't have most of them because there are 90, possibly more than 90 U.S. Special Operations personnel in Ukraine on the ground, boots on the fucking ground. Started off at 14, but now we're up to 90 that they're admitting to. You know, purely advisory capacity, you know, just like our advisors in Vietnam. I give a fuck who leaked these documents. Why? Fall back on Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson. There is no truth in this world that I would wish not known to all mankind. And then Sally Hemings standing behind him going, I'm going to remember you said that, motherfucker. Anyway, I'm in it for the truth. And the truth is something that most of us have called all along. I know Tom called it because we had this conversation months ago. Ukraine is getting their ass handed to them. Russian casualties are way lower than we have been led to believe. Ukrainian casualties are exponentially higher than we have been led to believe. And the main distraction that's going on right now is the fact that we have, and I wouldn't have cared if it was 14. The original story was it was 14 and they were a special security detail guarding the embassy in Kiev. Kiev. I'm not going to call it Kyiv. You can go fuck yourself. Now we're admitting to 90. What's the real number? I wouldn't have cared if it was only 14. Those are U.S. military personnel in a fucking war zone. It is only a matter of time before an American soldier is killed by a Russian or a Russian soldier is killed by an American. And then it's World War III, boys and girls. Over what? Over what? Just in time for the narrative to fall apart on Ukraine. Just for Biden, who is compromised in Ukraine. Just for that to start coming to the surface. And now we're getting ready to push into World War III for a compromised fucking cadaver and his crackhead son. Are you following me here? You tracking, Sparky? Fuck the leaks. Leaks for thee, but not for me. They love leaks when it implicates a member of the Trump administration. Don't worry, this doesn't end with ICBMs. It ends with Russian and Chinese flags all over. Yes, yes. And that's an excellent point. Kurt Doyle, we're protecting the washing machine. Yes. Very clever. I like what you did there, Kurt. And by the way, thanks for showing up. I like what you did there. Yeah, okay. Let me see here. Let me see. This person, who is that? Get help, you are conspiracy crazy. Get help and grow out of your fucking immaturity, you fucking child. I tried to play nice with you. If you were here in front of me right now, I'd slap the fucking taste out of your mouth, Kurt. Stop stalking, motherfuckers, you little piece of shit fucking maggot. Goodbye. Really sorry that had to happen. Yeah, you're protecting the washing machine. Protecting the washing machine because they are laundering the money, man. They are laundering the money. 150 billion. Again, we have given them 150 billion. 150 billion. Twice Russia's entire military budget for an entire fucking year. And all we've gotten out of it is a stalemate, and it turns out we didn't even get the stalemate. They have lied. They have lied about this thing from the word go. Every single thing that has come along has been a fucking lie. All of it. They love the leaks when it implicates the other side. But they are going to use these leaks as an excuse. They're going to use these leaks as an excuse to further crack down And to get that Restrict Act, which failed, they're going to get something like it passed. They have to control the narrative. You just get checked by Dylan Mulvaney. Possibly. Possibly. I'll just give a brief explanation. That wasn't even my main stalker. That's like one of three. But this is a guy it's a guy that I knew years ago that is still fucking stuck on stupid. And, periodically will like stalk a platform stalk a platform that he hasn't seen me on before. But he just got blocked from this one, so we don't have to worry about it. His name is Kurt Oleski. I'll go ahead and out him. He's done well for himself. I don't envy his success, but he's a punk. He's a punk. What more can I tell you? Joshua Ryan Smith, that's another one. And again, I don't care who's watching or who they fucking know. I'm done with these idiots. There are people who are out here trying to accomplish stuff. There are people out here who are trying to take their message to a bigger crowd, trying to uplift people, trying to fucking bring people into the light. And if all you're going to do is just sit back and tear these people down, I have no time for you. I have no fucking time for you. You're a toxic motherfucker, and I really don't care who you are. I might have known you in real life for 30 years. You may be a fucking family member. I don't care. I'm at a point in my life where this shit just doesn't matter. Kurt, no Kirk. Yeah, Kirk Voight. I know Kirk probably had right when I said Kurt, fucking Mr. Voight over here about had a heart attack because he thought I might have been saying Kirk. No, Kirk is my bro, dude, and he's also a fellow denizen of the Northwest. In any case, man, I'm not going to get distracted here. We've been lied to on Ukraine. We have. When I do a Google search, U.S. Special Forces in Ukraine, from the BBC, Ukraine War, leak shows Western Special Forces on the ground. That's from the BBC. The BBC, the one your leftist friends are always saying, well, I don't watch American media because it's all just like, even CNN is looking like Fox now. So I go to like NPR and the BBC. So I'm like thoroughly informed and objective and stuff. Yeah, well, the BBC just said that the leak shows Western Special Forces on the ground. They are still saying that the UK has the largest contingent, but that we've got up to 90. American troops are fighting in Ukraine. What U.S. intel leaks reveal? Al Jazeera, Pentagon leaks. Russian Special Forces in Ukraine war. U.S. Yahoo News. U.S. Special Operations Team working out of embassy in Ukraine. Okay. Daily Mail from the UK. Putin's thugs, talking about the Wagner Group, Putin's thugs would love to track down high-value target UK Special Forces in Ukraine, Member of Parliament warns. They're right to do it. They're right to fucking do it. We lost the moral high ground the minute we got actively involved in this conflict. We lost the moral high ground the minute we started trying to make Ukraine a member of NATO. We definitely lost the high ground in 2014 with Maidan, installing a U.S. puppet government made out of right sector neo-Nazis. We have no moral high ground there. We haven't for a very, very long time. Continue to be lied to. But again, that's what the Google search for U.S. Special Forces in Ukraine pulls up. Russia leaked Ukraine memos. There's another Google search for you to do. Ukraine suggests that Russia altered leaked U.S. intelligence. That's what Zelensky's telling us. Those memos came out, but Russia altered them. Well, how did Russia get their hands on them? I thought it was a 21-year-old kid. You see how the narrative keeps shifting. What I can tell you is that everyone who put that UCrop flag in their fucking profile was unequivocally wrong. It's now been totally fucking exposed and debunked. You are supporting a group of butchers in the pursuit of Biden's profit margin with his ties to Burisma, the money laundering that is going on for Republican members of Congress as well. Any Republican member of Congress or Senate, House or the Senate, that is paid a visit to Ukraine, they are complicit. They are complicit and they're getting kickbacks. I haven't been wrong about one goddamn thing about this thing from the start. And when I say I'm not making any exemptions, I did have a family member, very close family member, telling me how disturbed she was at my support for a murderous dictator. You were fucking wrong. I don't have the patience anymore, people. I just don't. I don't. But again, not going to let these people get me down. You just cut them loose. You guys got to see that a couple of minutes ago. You guys got to see that. You're drifting along. You ain't on my level. You're gone. We are going to rise above this shit. We are going to win this shit. If we don't go up in fucking nuclear hellfire, we are going to win this shit. I am still of the opinion that there is time to turn this fucking tide. I am still of the opinion that 2024, it is inevitable that the tide will fucking turn. I am still of the opinion that it is going to have to get into some violence and bloodshed before that happens. I'm not a Pollyanna about this, boys and girls. I'm realistic about it. But in the end, we win. Leaked Kremlin memo to Russian media. That's Mother Jones. Leaked Ukraine. You got to love the spin control on this one. This one from Axios, and then we're going to move on. Leaked Ukraine memo reveals scope of Russia's aggression. Okay, wait a minute. 1 week ago, Russia was useless and getting their ass handed to them, and now that the leaked document comes out and shows that the body count is way higher on the Ukraine side, suddenly the narrative turns to this is how horrible the Russians are. They're fuck off, man. Fuck off. I can't abide lies anymore. Pentagon leaks reveal Russian infighting over death toll. Ukraine prompts Pentagon investigation. Well, I should say so. A 21-year-old had top secret clearance? You're serious. You're fucking serious. What did we say in the opener? What did we say? Pull it back, man. That we accept. Macon had to say that. The aim is to make good citizens, which is to say docile and uninquisitive. Deliberate scheme to outfit the pupil, not with the capacity to weigh ideas, but with a simple appetite for gulping ideas ready-made. And there is a never-ending supply of those ready-made ideals. Don't take their word for it, and don't take my word for it. I'm not a fucking guru. I'm not the fucking all-ending authority. God damn it, reach deep and think for yourself. I demand that you fact check me on every fucking thing that I'm putting forward. And if I am found wanting, correct me. But it's getting to the point where I'm having to speak some pretty uncomfortable truths. Uncomfortable truths because of because of a picture that's been painted and the light that it paints people in. What do you mean by that exactly? In the 1920s, you know what? I'm not even going to go back that far. You guys remember a German with a funny mustache? I know you guys remember it, right? Word starts with an E. Underrated science. Eugenics. Where did Hitler's regime get their blueprint for their eugenics program? I know there's a couple of you guys on here that know. I have yet to be wrong on the paradigm shift. Well, and this is why we're friends, Tom. This is why we're friends. Oh, wait, 100%. Where did Hitler get his program? Where did Hitler get the blueprint? for his eugenics program. Oh, Ryan, I know you know. I know you know. Got it from us. Got it from us. This thing that I'm closing with right here, it pains me. It pains me because I'm going to have to say things that are going to put me into a box, but I am no longer about refraining from, I never have been about this, but I'm even less diplomatic now about refraining from speaking uncomfortable truths because of how people are going to take it. I don't care how you take it anymore. This is true. I know it to be true, and I'm going to speak it. It wasn't that the truth in question, of course, was not where did they get where did they get, because that's well known and well documented. Hitler got his eugenics blueprint from the United States and the UK, and we were decades ahead of him. We were forcing sterilizations on people. I'm going to give you some examples, and here's, and I'm going to tell you, and this is the thing too, and this is how the narrative is shifted. This is from 19thnews.org in February of last year, February of 2022. And they were horrified. Why? Because 31 states still have laws that allow forced sterilizations. It's a new report from the National Women's Law Center. And the National Women's Law Center was pretty fucking hacked off, righteously hacked off about it. Some of these laws were passed as recently as 2019 around an overlooked aspect of reproductive justice. That's how it was being painted. Women and their abortion rights. Report shows that 31 states and the District of Columbia have laws allowing permanent forced sterilizations. Again, those laws are still in effect, and some of them passed as late as 2019. "17 states allow permanent surgical sterilization of children with disabilities." Disabilities is pretty fucking vague. We talking physical? We talking cerebral palsy? We talking Down syndrome? Children with disabilities. 17 states allow the permanent surgical sterilization of children with disabilities. Now, feel how you want about eugenics. My opinions on the science are nuanced, shall we say. But I'm just stating facts for you here, and you get to make out of those what you wish to make for yourself. The National Women's Law Center was very, very upset about laws allowing forced sterilizations. They were righteously fucking outraged. As a matter of women's and reproductive rights, they were righteously outraged. And that sounds pretty fucking reasonable. What do we know about it back at the turn of the century here in the United States? Forced sterilization policies in the U.S. targeted minorities. More than 60,000, and some estimates have it as high as 300,000. This is from the University of Michigan. Forced sterilization policies in the U.S. targeted minorities and those with disabilities and lasted into the 21st century. So they are on the same tip as the Women's Law Center as a matter of reproductive rights. Ralph versus Weinberger. Mary Alice and Minnie Ralph, poor African-American sisters from Alabama, were sterilized at the ages of, and this is important, at the ages of 14 and 12. Leftist women, you outraged? Are you? I mean, it's a reproductive rights issue. It's an issue that disproportionately affected people of color. Seems like the kind of thing that we could all get behind, that forced sterilization is a bad thing. Article from NPR from 2016. Supreme Court ruling that led to 70,000 forced sterilizations. Sterilization defined by National Institutes of Health to this day. Person who is either mentally ill or mentally defective and will either severely handicap any offspring. And it goes on. Compulsory sterilization in all 50 of the states of the United States of America. All 50 states had forced sterilization programs. 19 still do. And we're all pretty much agreed that this is a horrible, horrible thing. Progressives, you should certainly be agreed, right? Leftists should certainly fucking be agreed that surgically sterilizing people is a bad fucking idea. But wait. That sliding fucking scale, and Emmy, you called it. You knew exactly where I was headed. That sliding fucking scale about forced sterilization. They don't call it that. It's gender-affirming care. You cut the cock off a 13-year-old boy, that's gender-affirming care. You give a 14-year-old girl puberty blockers and male hormones like fucking testosterone, sterilizing her potentially for life, and that's gender-affirming care. My boy Elon had something to say about it. Any parent or doctor who sterilizes a child before they are a consenting adult should go to prison for life. Now, most of you guys watching this program, and myself included, I look at that as self-fucking evident. You sterilize a child before they are a consenting adult, that is child abuse. You should go to prison for life. But no, that's gender affirming care. And this is the same people that quite correctly take a dim view of eugenics. Why? How can they hold this double standard in their head? I'm going to throw this out. I got a little document here. williamsinstitute.law.ucla.edu. Let me repeat that so you can write it down. I should have put a tab down for it. williamsinstitute.law.ucla.edu. This is UCLA, Williams Institute, UCLA School of Law. Race and ethnicity of adults who identify as transgender in the United States. Oh, Bart, I think I see where you're going with this. Yes, you see exactly where I'm going with this. How is it that the same leftist crowd who quite correctly, let me be abundantly clear in what I am saying and what I am not saying, lest my words get twisted, the same leftist who quite correctly looked at the eugenics programs in the 1920s, forced sterilizations targeting minorities, targeting blacks, targeting people who were mentally disabled, quite correctly looked at that and cried foul. Quite correctly raised hell about it still being a law in the books because it affects women's reproductive rights. You know, that war on women that we're hearing so much about. And it is a reproductive rights issue. Forced sterilization is a bad fucking thing, okay? But these same leftists who quite correctly look at the eugenics policies of the 1920s and say, forced sterilization is a bad thing. The same leftists who look at this as a women's reproductive rights issue and say, forced sterilization women, bad fucking thing. But gender affirming care, there's an exception for that. Interesting. According to UCLA School of Law at Williams Institute, just throwing this out there, a little breakdown of the race and ethnicity of adults who identify as transgender in the United States. So this doesn't even count the kids. This doesn't even count the kids. The number of, and you know what? I'm going to try to punch that up very, very quickly. Robert Malone. Robert Malone had a great fucking write up on this, and I meant to bookmark it before we got on here. Robert Malone, here we go. Race and ethnicity. We're not even going to get into children. This is adults. Estimated percentage of the population by race and ethnicity that identify as transgender. White non-Hispanic represent 55% of adults who identify as transgender. African Americans, 16%. White non-Hispanic, 66% of the population, 55% of those who identify as transgender. African Americans, 13% of the population, 16% of adults who identify as transgender. That may be the first statistic in the entire country where they are statistically represented accurately. You talking about criminal statistics? Yes. But I'm also talking about hiring, college admissions, everywhere else. Take it and run with it. Robert Malone, on his Substack, Transgender Surgery, Common Sense, and Decency Are Needed, goes into the number of cases. And I'll post this to the fan page. Fucking remember to do it. I wish I had fucking pulled this up earlier. You know what? I can source it. And I'm going to. Because it's just too fucking important not to. It's just too fucking important not to fucking source this thing. Because when it comes to children, it's far, far worse. Not with the disproportionate representation, but just with all of the things, that are represented here, all of the potential problems that are represented here. It is absolutely terrifying what they are contemplating here. Absolutely. God damn it. I've got to find this. Here we go. Got it. Bang. There we go. Pull this down. This is what's happening with children. Forcibly sterilizing children. Okay? And that's what gender affirming care is. Let's not mince words about that. Gender affirming care sounds really great. At the end of the day, it means up to and including cutting the tits off of little girls, cutting the cocks off of little boys. I'm not even going to mince words and make nice and say slicing off the penis or surgically removing the breasts. Gender affirming care is giving puberty blocking chemicals, which every indication says are irreversible. And then to make them more irreversible, following that, give puberty-blocking drugs to young girls and then start them on testosterone. You're rendering them infertile for fucking life. Do you understand that? You cut off a boy's cock and balls, you're rendering him infertile for fucking life. Do you understand that? What's the out? That it's not forced? That these kids want that to happen to them? These kids aren't old enough to smoke. If I tried to give one of these gender confused kids a cigarette, their parent would step to me and do their level best to take me out of fucking consciousness, and they would be right to do it. And yet, this is insanity. This is insanity on its face. And I want to be on the record. And I'm going to tell you something, man. I have two people, two young people that are very, very close to me, who are female to male trans, born biologically female, making the transition to male. I've supported them. Not in their transition, but I've supported them on a personal level. Okay, cool. You want to man the fuck up? I'll do my best to be a male role model. One of them got him in the gym. Got him in the gym and fucking lifting. You want to go? You're going to go all the way. All right, cool. Already had top surgery? Cool, fine. Going to get those pecs under a fucking bar. We're going to lift some fucking weight. You want to man the fuck up? Let's man the fuck up. Right on. I can get behind that. Both of them know better than to play the pronoun game with me, because I'm not going to fucking do it. And I'm going to tell you something. By going public like this, I am risking, because I don't know where either, we've never had the discussion. I don't know where either of them at. I love them both. I love them both like they were my own sons. And I'm taking the risk by taking this fucking public stand that either one of them may never speak to me again. That is a risk that I'm willing to take. Because what I'm speaking here is truth. If people aren't willing to accept that, then I'm going to cut them loose. I'll go you one better. My birth mother, who I didn't know for 51 years out of my life, I don't know where she's at on this. I know she's devout pushing for trans rights, and that's fine for adults. But we've never actually had the discussion on gender affirming care for children. And again, I don't care. This is a hill that I'm willing to die on. Why? Because the primary thing beyond protecting yourself is to protect fucking children, dude. You have to protect fucking children. Now, if you have, and look, every bit of statistical and empirical evidence says that left alone, gender dysphoria almost always resolves itself. These kids grow up, maybe they become gay or lesbian. Kids grow up, maybe they are straight with certain tendencies. Maybe they're bisexual. You know what they're not? Mutilated. And I do not accept this panic pushing thing that they try to push on you where, well, you can either have a live son or a dead daughter. It's horseshit. It's horseshit. Making decisions based on fear is never fucking okay. But where does it all come down? Two things in particular. Psychology Today, rapid onset gender dysphoria. This is a completely new thing, and this is what Robert Malone went into. In general, this is Psychology Today, 2018. In general, cisgender people are considered evil and unsupportive, regardless of their actual views on the topic. To be heterosexual, comfortable with the gender you were assigned at birth, and non-minority, even though whites are overrepresented in transgender adults, but I'll leave that to the side. Non-minority places you in the most evil of categories with this group of friends. They are generally discounted as unenlightened. Parents reported being derogatorily called breeders by their children. This is what it's come to. Routinely harassed by children who played pronoun police. In turn, the eerie similarity between the youth's discourse and transpositive content online was repeatedly emphasized. Youth were described as sounding scripted, reading from a script, wooden, like a form letter, verbatim, word for word, or practically copy and paste. Rapid onset gender dysphoria appears to be a novel condition that emerges from cohort and contagion effects and novel social pressures. Do you understand where I'm going with this? This is not organic. This is a product of social panic. This is a product of propaganda. This is a product of a 100% push being on. And why? Why would medicine... First part of the Hippocratic Oath, rule number 1, do no harm, right? Why? Why would they be pushing it? The answer is very simple. Same reason Big Pharma does anything. Money. I'm going to give you a few stats real quick. The average transgender surgery cost for each procedure typically ranges from $1,500 to $26,000, but could be as high as $200,000. Replacing the core reproductive organ completes the entire reassignment. Male to female vaginoplasty is between 20 to 50 grand. Female to male phalloplasty, 25 to 35 grand. Do you understand why leftists and government are getting involved now with gender affirming care? The same people that used to quite correctly tell big medical corporations that my child is not a science experiment line their children up for the fucking vaccines, and the government bought those doses from Pfizer and forced them on an unsuspecting public as an experimental drug. This is no different. In fact, this is considerably worse, exponentially worse, because they're trying to get it to where government health care will pay for this. Government paid for the vaccines. They're going to try to make government and insurance companies pay for these transitions. This is about money. It is about money. It is about delusion. And it is about evil. I'm going to let you in on a little something before you phobe me. Okay? And anybody who knows me is already aware of this. I've likely banged more trans women than you've met. There's no shame in my freak game. I have been there. On many an occasion. It's another funny thing too, you know, for all the white college liberals that when I use the word tranny, they say, you can't say that. That's an offensive term. And I remind them that none of the ones that I fucked ever seem to have an issue with it. By the way, if that bothers anybody's delicate sensibilities, you're welcome to show yourself to the door. On either front. Okay? The one thing you will know about the Reverend ain't going to bullshit you. Reverend got no shame, son. None. You want to be an adult and live your life the way you want to live your life, go through gender reassignment surgery. If you're past the age of majority, look, dude, you're old enough to buy a handgun. You're old enough to do whatever the fuck you want. You're old enough to register to vote. Do whatever the fuck you want. If you are a teenager and you are confused and you want to wear clothes and makeup, style your hair in a way more befitting the gender you think you belong to, I got no issue with that. We all got to fucking explore to know who the fuck we're about. And I would never deny somebody the process of doing that. But we're not talking about that. We are talking about a group of evil, delusional, zealot cult members with the full weight of the government and the pharmaceutical/surgical industry behind them, doing exactly what was forced on minorities. the 1920s, mentally disabled all the way up until now in up to 19 different states. If you can't see the evil in that, you and I have nothing further to discuss. As I said, I want to be clear on exactly what I'm saying and exactly what I'm not saying. An adult wants to do whatever the fuck they want. Yep, thank you. Thank you, Buck and Blair. I'll tell you the truth, I'd do either one of them. If you can't see the evil in that, we don't have anything further to discuss. If you were an adult, you do what you want, live your life the way you want to. You don't get to compel me to call you by your desired fucking pronoun. You present as a dude, I'm going to call you a fucking dude. Present as a female, I'm going to call you a fucking female. I'm not going to play the pronoun game. I'm not going to play into the fucking delusions, but I will not stop you from living your life however you want to live it. The two people that I mentioned that are close to are both legal adults. They are past the age of majority. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and I will support them. Assuming they still want to talk to me. If you are below the age of majority, and again, you are exploring, you are confused, I want you to have a support system of people to talk to, ways to work that shit out. Being gay doesn't require you cut your cock off. Being a lesbian doesn't require you cut your tits off. Why the push? Why? Why? When science and the stats and the numbers say that it will resolve itself, they're probably going to be gay or lesbian, but they're still going to have their equipment intact. Why? Why the push? Money and evil. This is sick, man. This is fucking sick. And after Washington, again, they passed the gun control law this week, but the big one that they passed this week that made me feel like I had to say something about it, this actually took precedent over the gun thing. If you know me, that's heavy. Shelters, city shelters, state shelters that are housing runaways, right? Can allow underage youth to proceed with gender affirming care without consulting the parents. Now, look, you want to keep them away from the parents. There's a reason they ran away from home. I get that. But it's like now that they're in the arms of the state, we're going to pursue the policies of the state. And the policies of the state, again, we're not going to mince words, are mutilation and forced sterilization. It's white college liberals. Who do white college liberals who are pushing this? What ethnicity do they hate? They hate their own. They hate their own. When they talk about replacement, who are they talking about? They're talking about replacing their own. What did we just say about the racial breakdown of the adults? 55% of adults presenting as trans, white. How was eugenics targeted then against minorities? I submit to you that it's the same fucking thing. That they are pushing that level of infertility, that they are pushing that level of forced sterilization specifically to neutralize one racial element. I don't say that that's all there is to it. Again, I want to be clear on what I'm saying and what I'm not, but I do believe that is a facet. These people are depraved. They hate anything that is right and good about white European blood, about Western civilization. anything that is decent that is left in the fucking world. And I will no longer pretend that I'm giving it even tacit approval. This is fucking sick. It's fucking sick. And something damn sure people need to be able to stay. The first step is standing up and saying it's sick. What did Elon say? Any parent or doctor who sterilizes a child before they are a consenting adult should go to prison for life. If he would have said that in the 1920s, who would have hated him? Who would have hated him? Conservatives and white supremacists. What do you mean, Elon? What do you mean? Put someone in for life. We have to sterilize some of these people. They're degenerates. They're mentally disabled. They're black. Elon says the same thing. Who's slagging him now? He would have been factually correct in that statement then. He is factually correct in that statement now. Hey, leave the kids alone. It's impossible for words to describe what is necessary to those who do not know what horror means. We're getting a look at horror, people. And these zealots will stop at fucking nothing. I say this without a shred of fucking hyperbole. It is not yet time to go on the offensive, but we are way past time for putting our weight back on our fucking heels. It is time that we stand. It is time that we speak the fucking truth. And anyone who is not comfortable with that truth, to cut them summarily and unceremoniously out of our fucking lives. I am not so far gone that I don't believe that there is goodness and decency in the world, and that is actually what drives my will to protect it and to call out anything that fucking threatens it. There's no nuance left in the public sphere anymore when it comes to discussion. Understand that. You and I can have nuanced discussions, and we do. Those of you who are friends of mine that know me in person, we have nuanced discussions all the time. Right? Thank you. And that's exactly what it's come down to. They will stop at nothing less than the state becoming God. To a large degree, they have already succeeded. Why? Because we have let them. We weren't willing to draw the line when it was matters of race. We weren't willing to draw the line when it was matters of politics. We have finally reached a line where they are vocally and proudly coming for your children. If we are not willing to draw a line here, there is no line left to draw. We will go extinct, and we will fucking deserve it. I hold that that line exists, and I stand ready to defend it. I ask you, who's ready to stand with me? Knuckle up, motherfuckers. The fight's coming. It's already here. Best steel yourself up and be ready for it. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. I love you guys. I could go on about this for hours, but I need to hit the road, man. Got a long drive ahead of me. Tell you what's going on. I'm starting a gig down in Salt Lake City. And I'm going down to Salt Lake City this week and then immediately jumping a plane and going to Texas and then coming back to Salt Lake City to start that crane gig. So I am off on another big adventure. Guys, hey, don't let all that dark shit. Don't let it get to you. Don't get black-pilled, man. In the end, we win this thing. I fucking believe it, man. I fucking believe it. And I see that tide turning all over the fucking place. People are seeing the writing on the wall and they're fighting because they feel like they got nothing left to lose. We are in the right. We do have the moral high ground. But we are reasonable motherfuckers. As a general rule, we will take and we will take and we will take and we will take because we know the cost of fucking violence. We know the true nature of violence. We know what it looks like, what it smells like when it comes to violence. And the sight and the smells make us fucking wretched, and we will do anything to avoid it if at all possible. But if you force it on us, God rest your mortal fucking soul. You will rue the day that you were born. Bad day for you, Sparky. Good news is it's going to be a real fucking short one. Again, I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Thanks, Kurt Doyle, for showing up. Thank you, brother. I'm sorry about the name mix up there. The guy that I had to boot was also named Kurt. I hope I didn't rattle you there when I was like, fuck that Kurt guy. Go ahead, just again, man. Fucking you and Kurt Voigt, man. Didn't mean to shake you up, but sometimes you just got to deal with stuff, man. I appreciate you guys. It's not over until you give up, man, and I'm not one to give up. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm going to pass that digital collection plate around real quick as we cue up the outro music. You guys want to throw me some coin in that collection plate? I'm on Facebook Pay, I'm on Cash App, I'm on Venmo, I'm on Zelle, I'm on all that good stuff. If you guys want to throw me some coin, I'm going to tell you something too, guys, going forward, just a brief little catch up. I'm going to send you to, and you can freeze it and go back and write the shit down later. Reverend Bart at reverendbart.substack.com. That's where it's all headed, because this is getting played out. It's heading to Rumble, it's heading to Substack. And I also have my original blog, Reverend Bart's America at blogspot.com. On both of these, you will be able to donate if you find the content that I produce worth something and you want to throw me a couple of bucks, you can do it on my blogspot here. You can do it on my Substack, and I will be setting up paid subscriptions probably 2 weeks from now. Again, I got a lot on the road, heading out on the road. So I'm doing it as I can. I appreciate your patience and your support. All of you guys. Thank you for that. Man, we've been doing this for 3 years now. You know that? I started looking back at it the other day. This is 3 years we've been doing this now. And, fuck, man, I never thought I'd be here, but here we are. So thank you again for your support and all that good stuff. I appreciate you guys. I really do. If you can't throw me any coin, I get it. We're still in a Biden economy, but I tell you what you can do is turn somebody else onto the program, put it on your own social media, spread that gospel, man. Do what you do. Put it on your Twitter feed, something. Tell somebody about it. Hey, man, this crane operator with some opinions. Toothless, fat fucking cripple that gets some rants and raves for a couple hours every Sunday. And maybe they'll dig it. Maybe they won't. Either way, man, I aim to amuse, enlighten, and offend in no particular order. For all my Reverends Rangers, for all my prophets of doom, for all my sinner sisters out there, remember, guys, as my man Stone says, live the three. And one more thing I want to throw out, too, man. We'll get out this OGD, man. Only good days. Take that into account, man. We're going to make that the unofficial fourth to live the three, but only good days, man. My man Jeremy Mann came up with that. OGD, man. Only good days. Only good days, baby. Even your worst day, you're still alive and breathing, man, so it's a good day. Only good days, baby. Only good days. But in the meantime, live the three, as Stone says. Live the three prime directives. The noise is all fucked up. You got to be that signal to break through the noise. Fuck the distractions, fuck the mud, fuck the hate, fuck everything. You got to be that signal to punch through the fucking noise, right? They will try to bury you in the darkness, tell you there's nothing but the darkness. They'll try to demoralize you, dehumanize you, emasculate you, take away your hope, steal your thunder, and steal your joy, man, with all that darkness. And there's plenty of it out there, but you got to be the one. You got to be the light. And if you can't be the light, you got to carry that light to break through the darkness. But above and beyond anything else, the iron rule, the prime directive in a world full of weakness, you have got to be that strength. And I don't mean just here. This is essential, but I'm talking about here and here and here. You got to be strong, man. You got to throw that weakness into starker contrast with your strength. You got to be that strength that stands up to the weakness. You got to be that strength that crushes the weakness. We stand together, man. Who knows what beauty has died out of the world for want of the strength to survive. Thinking back to old Bruce Lee flicks. I love y'all. Thank you for the support. It means the world to me, man. Live the three. Live those prime directives. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Speak the truth even if your voice shakes. Stand even if your knees are trembling. Y'all don't know, man. Y'all don't know how much it means. But I'm going to keep telling you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay strong. Probably no sermon next week. I might drop in just a real quick live broadcast. But I will be in touch from the road again. Check me out on Facebook, everything. I love you guys, man. I appreciate you. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. You guys are the best, man. I love y'all. Peace. You guys are great, man.